Thank you, everybody. Welcome. And I'll go over the ransomware overview and kind of behavioral piece and how we operate. There were some key pieces here just to kind of reiterate. We are covering the full scope of everything that people worry about today, that signature and signature-less based protection. So Sophos has the full boat with regards to being able to protect against all threats, either old time or current 0 day, even 0 hour. Um, the really great part about the anti-exploit protection is that we cover more of the vulnerabilities and exploits than any other vendor on the market today. And what we'll cover today is basically a lot of what was just mentioned in this quick demo. We'll go through the motions of what a user would experience and kind of create with regards to seeing exploits on their machine executed, and then being able to effectively have those combated with our Intercept X. So here I am as a typical user. I am running on a virtual host, and I am behind our firewall, which is our next generation firewall called XG. And I'm pinging the internet, so we'll kind of get the full scope of the swing of things. Just to kind of add a little color to this whole endpoint protection, I also happen to be running our encryption client, which was just mentioned by Sylvester as well. And so with that client, when you log in and you have the Sophos protection, the full gauntlet, you actually have access to your keys and your encryption keys and your key ring. Plus I'm behind our firewall. And with the heartbeat service that he had mentioned, which is right here, it runs, and if it happens to be in line with the firewall and the navigation of the actual operating system is traversing the firewall, either coming in via VPN or going out to the world or going to another neighboring network, and it interprets the heartbeat has changed and your security status has changed, it'll indeed block you. This information's managed and logged and looked at by the firewall itself, and it has an interpreter that will see all the heartbeats from all the various endpoints that are kind of traversing it, going in or out depending on firewall rules. So what I'm going to trigger right now is basic, I think it's HydroCrypt. Open up a basic email. It looks like it was custom crafted. It's something that is revolving around something that I'm dealing with today in a personal life, maybe. They say about 90% of all of ransomware or exploits that are targeted for companies are usually specific to a particular targeted company. So that's something to consider. It's not always just random. So here I am, Joe user. I'm opening up an email. I got something that looks interesting to me, like a moth to a flame. I feel compelled to disable or enable the the Microsoft security that's built into the actual email. And what will happen is basically it's going to trigger the ransomware to run rampant on my system. It'll effectually look for whatever documents it needs to find. In this case, it'll target this particular area over here. It'll happen instantaneously. It'll be observed behavior. The reason why we call it Intercept, we actually work between the software and the hardware layers of the actual system itself. And as there's an interpreter that's opening and touching files, we'll read that immediately and make a determination whether or not it's bad, malicious, or good, and ignore it. If it's malicious, we'll let it go a couple before we actually make the determination that it looks malicious, and we'll block it and we'll stop it and kill the process. And then in turn, like Sylvester had mentioned, we'll run a scan to clean the entire system and put it back into a working order. At the same time, instantaneously after the actual process is killed, we'll be able to instantaneously recover the files that were affected and changed by whatever the event was. And again, to reiterate what he had said, it isn't a shadow copy whatsoever. It's our own proprietary copy and grab instantaneously read-ahead copies that were made before the execution. So here we go. I'm gonna, if you blink, you'll probably miss it. It's pretty fast. But it'll target these files over here in the right-hand side, and we'll see it encrypt and then roll and then recover. So I'll enable the editing on the actual document, and we let it run. It's detected instantaneously by ransomware. It's blocked, and then you can see over here files have already kind of changed. So we see that there's been some some activity over here, and then there's also clean copies of the same files. So what happens right now is that there's actual sweep that's running rampant, and it's kind of going through and making sure that everything is cleaned up. Simultaneously, also, the administrators that are listed in the central account will receive an email instantaneously telling them that there was a particular event on a particular machine, who the user was, and the actual nature of the actual message itself. As you can see, my ping actually stopped to the internet, so if I went and I checked on my firewall, which is part of my world here, I can see there was a security heartbeat changed one of the endpoints, which is the actual machine I'm on, and it'll list that same information here. If you have a lot of users that show this type of behavior and detection, there's also reports that can be run specifically that give you specific information about user threat quotient, how many people have continually been infected, maybe raise a flag and go back and kind of determine whether or not that's somebody you need to talk to because they continually are repeat offenders. So this is busy doing its own scan. You can see down here on the encryption portion that I had mentioned, my keys have been revoked and I no longer have access to them. So if any machine was compromised or anything was taken, the files would be unreadable if encrypted with our solution as well. So in the meantime, I go over to my Sophos Central interface, and basically what happens is during the cleanup process, we're going to make sure that everything's free and clear locally and put things back in place. But also, after it's done, there'll be a collective amount of data gathered and uploaded into our central console. Central console will provide the access to be able to see what we call root cause analysis. The incremental dashboard will grow with each event that it's seen. And under endpoint protection, we have the data that's gathered from root cause analysis, giving us the ability to take a little bit, peer a little bit deeper into exactly what's transpired on a particular event. You can drill down into each event. We have the ability to make notes depending on who's taking the actual support case to continue to track the events and maybe to look into some more root cause information. The artifacts that we gather are specific to the actual event themselves. There's a whole list of them, but we also break them down into a kind of a filtered mode. Business files that are associated with the actual detection, which are the file types, how many times they've been touched or abused. Other things, temporary files, components, the normal files from the Office document. The different processes that were involved, depending on what they were, we can see the actual pieces and parts that were involved. The registry keys, also kind of big. There's a lot of changes. We can revert back these as well. They're all tracked. This can also be exported out in the form of a CSV file for further examination. And then a lot of times with the network control, this is the command and control piece where when there's ransomware, there's a key exchange, a public key exchange that takes place. And the client will prevent that. And what happens is the ransomware tries to reach out and communicate, do the key exchange so that they can hold your files ransom, and then either give you the threat that your keys will be deleted if you don't respond within a certain amount of time, or just something that they have. A lot of times when they can't reach out that way, they'll use a default key, which is another kind of scheme piece because they didn't really get to do the key exchange. And then we have what we call our threat chain, which kind of really depicts what's happened with the actual detections themselves. We can see over here the beacon event, which was mentioned before, and it trails all the way back into the area where we can see it's continued to proliferate itself from the actual root cause itself and the origin of stuff. With the acquisition of Invitia, we'll start to build more information eventually into the root cause analysis, or around the origins and other details that go a little bit deeper and elaborate a little bit better, better than what we have today, which is very thorough. Nobody on the market has anything that is actually this efficient and successful at being able to instantly stop and revert back copies and also provide all the root cause analysis information. And I went back to the affected endpoint. The actual scan is finished, and it's asking me to go log back in to get my encryption keys back. So I'll authenticate. It allows me to get my encryption keys back. Then I can go and I can take a look if I wanted to on the dashboard, and we can see that everything's been cleaned up and it's all better. You can see my pings resumed, and if we looked at the firewall, we can see that my security heartbeat and status has changed back to green, which basically is indicative of the ping, meaning I'm allowed to go out to the internet still. So That's basically it. That's what I got. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David. That was great, and thank you, Sylvester, and everyone else from Sophos. And I appreciate everyone staying on. That was really good information. We went a little bit over, but thank you everybody for your time. And Brandon, I don't know if you're on, if there's anything you want to add, but we'll continue to try to do these on a weekly basis, or well, either bi-weekly or monthly. But just keep the information coming and stay on top of this security stuff. It's kind of a crazy world out there, but Sophos is doing a good job leading the charge and giving us products to protect us. So we'll try to keep bringing you guys information. And again, I appreciate everybody staying on and watching that. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to email myself or Brandon or anyone else from the Pine Cove team, and we'll try to get those answered for you. But if nothing else, thanks again, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.